And I want to thank everybody. I know you've had a very long evening, and I know many of you have been sitting a very long time. I'd like to say that normally in a session you would have had people get up and move around. We did a little bit of that, and that's perhaps one of the things that we haven't done. So what we're going to do right now is look back at the objectives, and if you recall, they were introduced to us, and we want to just make sure we did what we said we were going to do. The first thing was we wanted to model the training session. We, of course, started with Tony, and he gave a wonderful example of how to do an icebreaker. That's a very common piece that's in any sort of meeting. How yours looks, well, we've given you an example. We've hoped that we've done some other types of things, putting post-its up or tape up, having people have things they write, put them up. That's another style that you can put up. So we're hoping that everything we've done tonight is just some examples. There's a plethora of things out there for you to do. So we're hoping that we've modeled just a whole slew of ideas for you, and you can kind of remember back and say, oh yeah, you know, they did that, maybe I should consider that. We also reviewed the roles and expectations. I know for those who have not done this before, you might be saying, I'm still a little clueless. Well, that's why we put together a binder, and there's lots of other materials, and we're not going to read everything to you. So hopefully that has been fulfilled. Again, it was interesting, I think, for all of us to find our personal training style, and any of those types of self-discovery are always good in experience. And hopefully now we're a little more comfortable and familiar with the whole process, even though it's after 9 o'clock, after a very long work day and such. So we're hoping that we met our objectives. We perhaps should have asked at the beginning, you know, what would you like to see come out of the session? Because of the brevity of time, we did not. We would have modeled that for you. But right now, I'm going to ask David to come and Jeff.
Back of the big name.
Yeah, the big name.
Yeah,
he and I have not worked together, so I'm not as familiar with him.
So one of the things you want to do in the spirit of modeling these other sessions is ask you for feedback on what you think went well about the session and what you would change. And one of the things we've noticed in the sessions we've done in past years is we'll do this after each session, and there will be course corrections we'll make as a result of whatever feedback there is. So I remember a couple of years ago, we had a seating arrangement that wasn't ideal. Huge room, we got the feedback, we made changes quickly, much better the next time. So it's always good to be able to make course corrections along the way. So in that spirit, and let's do both at the same time, when you think about tonight, anything that you liked or anything that you would change, and we can do both at the same time.
I like the icebreaker.
Okay.
That was a new one.
Keep in mind in group presentations that the materials need to be bigger. That should be bigger.
And bigger names on the name tags.
Bigger name tags.
Be hard to read on
And
the video.
that's just a group management thing.
I like the level of preparation and enthusiasm from the committee.
Yeah.
Yep.
I liked that there was a very obvious timekeeper. It was very respectful of our time, because that's like a thing with me with meetings is.
He was very flexible too.
Yes.
Overt and flexible.
He put the time down and got yelled at.
That's flexibility.
I'm used to it.
What else?
A lot of interaction with the audience.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you would change doing this again?
Well, I think Cindy hinted at it, you know, at the beginning to ask what is it that people wanted to get out of the session.
Yeah,
So we got some input from them.
Good point.
And you can also do that with the icebreaker in the session, so that I would have another column on there. I would have plus change or plus minus. I would have an I column for are there anything that we didn't model, and the one thing we didn't wasn't conscious. I didn't have time. We didn't have a PowerPoint. In almost every session, we have a PowerPoint. And I was going to say, and we didn't have food, but thanks to Ellen and Tracy, we had lots of food. And so,
I still think you need some kind of a few-minute break in between.
Yeah.
I don't last that long.
I know, I didn't either.
Yeah.
And
Tired, it's late.
on the PowerPoint, seriously think about what you want to accomplish
Yeah.
with the PowerPoint. More and more people are spending lots and lots of time at meetings with PowerPoints in front of them. I'd rather have the contact and just simply go and work on
Yeah.
the presentation,
Yeah.
possibly using the PowerPoint only as maybe a check-in vehicle, but certainly not as the crutch for the presentation.
Good article out recently called Death by PowerPoint.
I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
What worked really well though is how the different presentations, the different styles, and how it flowed from one to another. And I think that's a key for the sessions too. It's not have anybody speak too long.
Yeah.
Actually, at first I thought this was gonna be a lot of repetition, but as the evening progressed, it seems to me that what we did was, we said things, and then we said them again, and we expanded them a little bit and expanded, so it reminds me sort of a upside down pyramid, I guess, you know, so that each person
Building.
expanded on the things that were touched on right at the beginning, and in some ways that repetition got to be really useful, so I think I came away with a lot of
Nice.
concrete information that might otherwise have gotten lost in the shuffle.
I'll add one more. If you notice, the transitions were very smooth. Everybody knew, you had an agenda that has the times in it, but all the presenters had an agenda that gave them a little more detail, like who was coming which, and so the person was ready, and with the time, then the amount of time. Transitions, I think, are one of the most important things, is that makes you look like you planned, like you all know what you're doing.
Time management also is critical. It's
We got a good time
along with
keeper.
what you said, but the most important thing on any meeting is when you promise to end at a certain time,
Yes.
it's end at a certain time.
And on that note.
I don't know.
Let's move on. Thank you.
Thanks.
No, thank you to everybody, really, thank you for putting this
So
together.
we're
Thank you.
almost finished. There are a couple other pieces, so if you go to the next page, there is a page that says which strategies do the trainers employ during this session. There are 23 listed. We're not gonna take the time now to go through it, Sharon. I'm picking on you. But, you know, take a look at them. You'll notice that most of them are in positive voice. We wanted them to all be in positive voice. There are a couple that are not. Obviously, we can't hit on everything at all times. We're all human. There's a lot of flexibility, but I want to take a look and see what was used tonight, what worked, what didn't work, what you feel comfortable with. You'll notice the next page is how to establish a positive learning environment, which we already touched upon. And then there's another piece, questions from all perspectives. Again, these are just some pieces that should help you, you know, good reference material. It's good to look at these things before you go on stage, as they say. And at the end, the very last page, it reminds me of something that's really important. And as a teacher, I always do this. Say goodbye to everybody at the end. You know, by name, make them feel like you really appreciate their time. There are a few other tips in there as well. So again, I'd like to thank you for coming tonight. We know Leading with a Jewish Heart is a valuable program. The participants in the past, as Marilyn has said, have told us that. You know, most of you have been through it maybe once or multiple times. You know you learn something from it each time. So keep that in mind. It's a learning experience for all of us. It's not that someone's leading and someone's the participator, you know. So those are the things we want to thank you for. Remember, this is our 60th year at Temple Isaiah. Part of the message is our long history, and remember that that's what we're about. We're about creating this Jewish community, and we're going to do it together. And it'll be another awesome cohort. I want to say I was very pleased that they kept on asking me for many years. So I just want to put my last plug in, which is sometimes people are not so much that they're new. It's just they haven't been able to get to it. And also we had some couple in our cohort last time who were very gifted, had moved here, you know, so it's not always young people, it's not always people who are untried. There's a wide variety of people there, and I want to thank everybody on the committee for working hard, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you.